in order to be able to address the challenges of our time, we need more and better collaboration. And therefore, it follows that we need more and better facilitation.
Trust begets trust. And what that means is, as facilitators, it starts with ourselves. How do we show up for ourselves? And what is the work we need to do to accept ourselves, and how we show up in a group? Because that is modeling for the rest of the participants, for the rest of the group, what trust can look like. And then the second is, how do we show up for our co-facilitators, the people that we're working most closely with? Because that's the second level of modeling trust to a larger group. And I'd also go on to say then, how do we show up, really paying attention to how do we show up to our participants and to our audience? Because, like I said, trust begets trust. If we start trusting, then trust is built. And that is, I would say, one of the most fundamental ways of moving forward to collaborate better.
The multi-stakeholder collaboration in Mexico that's been going on since 2015, dealing with questions of illegality, insecurity, and inequity, and the way in which that group has, through building trust and relationships, has been able to continue to make contributions in a very difficult context. I spoke about the Sustainable Food Laboratory, which has been going on for more than 15 years, which brings together food companies, farmers, NGOs, and academics, and how that work also has progressed through many cycles of trying things out, some of which work and grow, and others that don't work and get composted. And thirdly, I gave an example of my experience in Canada, my home country, with a project that dealt with First Nations health, how in that case, trust, including in me, was very low to start with, and that trust was built through step-by-step working together. I think there's no way to understand and work with collaboration if we don't understand that it's not the only option. It's impossible to collaborate with everybody on everything. So the question is, what are we going to collaborate on, and with whom and when? Faced with a situation that's not as we want it to be, we often have three other options. We can try to force it to be the way we want it to be. We can try to adapt to it as it is, or we can exit the situation altogether. And it's only when we understand that collaboration is one of four options. Some people, it might be their favorite option, other people, it might be their least favorite option, that we can work with it, and to understand that actors always have other options, and collaboration is neither the only or even the stable option.
The facilitators, first and foremost, are paying close attention to how to be helpful. And so, I mean, removing obstacles is a way that is commonly spoken about in Adam's book, so on and so forth. The fundamental idea is, how can I, as a facilitator, be helpful to this group? And then if you lead from that mindset as a facilitator, then we're not stuck on specific outcomes or solutions or methodologies or ways of doing things.
The observation from our experience is that the way most people think collaboration ought to work rarely does work. And conventional collaboration emphasizes focusing on the good of the whole, on the harmony of the team, agreeing on the problem, the solution, and the plan, and then deciding and telling people what they ought to do. And in multi-stakeholder situations characterized by complexity and conflict and lack of trust, that conventional approach does not and cannot work. And so the three aspects of stretch collaboration, the three stretches, are number one, rather than focusing on only on the good of the whole, to recognize that there are multiple wholes and there will be similarities and differences that have to be worked with. So to embrace conflict as well as connection. Secondly, to realize that it's rarely possible to agree up front what's the problem, what's the solution, and what will work to implement the solution. And so in practice, the second stretch requires us to experiment a way forward step by step. And thirdly, and most fundamentally, to recognize that we can rarely get anybody to do anything. And the third stretch, therefore, is to recognize the way in which we ourselves are part of the situation, and that our most effective, or the only thing we can do, is to focus on what we ourselves will do next, and not necessarily to be trusting, but to be trustworthy. And that's how we can contribute to building trust in a collaboration.